Yaqub Baig Ataliq Ghazi, founder of the Kashgriya Empire in East Turkestan. Thus, Arab-China relations had been established before Islam. But the nature of this relation was commercial, no positive or negative political and military affairs between Arabs and China had yet started after the migration to Medina. When the Holy Prophet Pbuh passed away, an area of approximately 1 million square kilometers had come under Islam. Later, during the reign of Rashida Caliphate, these boundaries were abnormally expanded, and on the one hand, the Sassanid government of Iran was erased like a letter. On the other hand, Caesar Rome had to give up its Asian conquests. The expansion of the Islamic State continued during the Umayyad period. However, the great commanders Musa bin Nusayr, Muhammad bin Qasim and Qutayba bin Muslim Bali, who departed from the cantonment of Mosul, Iraq in different directions of the world, defined these borders as the borders of North Africa and Eastern Europe, Sind and China respectively, extended until Qutayba bin Muslim Bali advanced towards China after the victory of Samarkand and Bukhara in Mosul in Central Asia. Then China decided to stop the Islamic forces in Central Asia as a preemptive measure, and in many battles, they defeated the non-Muslim Turks. Helped by Qutayba bin Muslim Bali advanced towards the border of China, conquered Kukan and reached Kashgar, the center of East Turkestan, through the Tirik Pass. Soon Kutan and Yarkand also came under the control of Muslims. Later, the Muslim army advanced towards Turfan, and Qutayba bin Muslim Bali sent an invitation to Islam to the Emperor of China Yang Chong 713–755, and the invitation was rejected. Vowed that I will not return from here until I have trampled the mainland of China and punished its princes. The Umayyad Caliph Walid bin Abdul Malik 668–715 died and was succeeded by the successor Caliph Salman bin Abdul Malik 674–717, who ordered all generals to withdraw from the war front. And this situation, while Qutayba bin Muslim and his army were in a dilemma, a delegation from the Shah of China appeared with a few princes and earthen baskets and sent a message to the king that, by punishing you princes and fulfill your oath, by trampling the soil of China under your feet, a large number of Uyghur Turks, a branch of the Tatars and Chinese ethnic group who also known as Dungan, settled in the aforementioned conquered areas of Turkestan, soon converted to Islam, and so after the Arabs. China's political relations were established with the Uyghur Muslims. During the Ming Dynasty 1368–1644, the influence of Uyghur Muslims increased significantly, and they gained key positions. During this period, China accepted the profound influence of Islam. Anti-Muslim policy of the Manchu government, the fall of the Ming Dynasty, and the rise of the Qing Manchu Dynasty 1655–1911 proved disastrous for the Hui and Uyghur Muslims. They were excluded from government positions and deprived of their civil rights. During the Manchu era, Eastern Turkestan, including Manchuria, Mongolia and Tibet, was occupied by force. In 1731, King Yunqing 17–31735 suppressed the Muslim independence movement in the Gansu region with the worst atrocities, as well as banning Muslim pilgrimages, the construction of mosques in Muslim areas, and the slaughter of cows. Moreover, the entry of scholars into China was prohibited. The matter did not end there, but the Chinese government massacred all the Muslim population in Shaanxi/Shaanxi Province, Huzhou City in Gansu Province, and Yunnan Province. In 1818, the desecration of the mosque once again enraged the Muslims, but this protest was also suppressed by force. Later in 1834, 1,600 Muslims were martyred in the area of Manmayintang. In this situation, the Muslims decided to organize resistance against the Manchu government instead of isolated resistance in different areas, and in 1863, they pushed the Manchu forces beyond the occupied areas. But in 1870, the Chinese forces recaptured the area after a major invasion, and exterminated 2/3 of the population. Among those who led the resistance movement against the Manchu regime, the names of Muhammad Amin, Su Shishan, Jahangir Khan and Tuvan Shui are prominent. However, in the second half of the 19th century, the personality of Yaqub Beg emerged. This man Mujahideen, known as Ataliq Ghazi, immediately freed the large area of East Turkestan from the Manchu forces. Yaqub Bey was born in Pushkind, a town in the Khanate of Kokand in present-day Tashkent province of Uzbekistan. He started his career in military service in the state and rose rapidly. In 1847, he was made the commander of Tilak Mosque. In 1853, after the capture of the fort by the invading Russian forces under the leadership of the Russian General Vasily Alexeyevich Provsky, Yaqub Beg migrated to Bukhara, where he was made Mir Sepa of Kokand. Yaqub Beg took advantage of the Hu rebellion in East Turkestan, present-day Xinjiang, and handed over the regions of Kashgar and Yarkand from the Chinese. And in 1867, the only surviving son of Jahangir Kuyand, the head of Kosafid, he deposed the former ruler Naqshbandi Sheikh Zorj Khan and declared independence after spending the first few years as a tributary of Khan of Kokand and gradually expanding the scope of his conquests until 1867. Captured a number of cities including Aksu White Water and Kachugr Kakar. At the same time, he announced the Kashgar Empire, consisting of the newly independent region, with Kashgar as its capital. This is the time when Yaqub Beg's leadership qualities came to the fore. For these glorious victories of Yaqub Beg, he was given the title of Ataliq Ghazi, and later times he was known by the same name. The Russian and British governments recognized the Sultanate of Kashgriya, while the Ottoman Caliphate gave him the title of Amir al-Mu'minin. Thus, he gained great importance in world politics. Ataliq Ghazi ruled during the Great Game at a time when the governments of Great Britain, Russia and China were planning to carve up parts of Central Asia. Ataliq Ghazi organized a militia of non-Muslim Han Chinese under Shu Kong to fight Chinese Muslims loyal to the Chinese government. After defeating the army of Talming Dawood Khalifa, a general loyal to the Chinese government, he planned the conquest of Genghis. In fact, he wanted to liberate all the Dungan Muslim Chinese territory. In this regard, martial poems against the Chinese and Dungan forces were created to boost the morale of Ataliq Ghazi's forces. Ataliq Ghazi wrested Aksu from the Dungan Chinese Muslim forces and forced them to retreat to the northern side of the Tian Shan Range, due to the continuous defeat of the Chinese forces at the hands of Ataliq Ghazi. The Chinese began to call him the Crusher of the Chinese. Ataliq Ghazi's advance had become a challenge to the Chinese government, so the Manchu forces under the leadership of General Chu and General Hua attacked Ataliq Ghazi's forces and destroyed them. What were the reasons for Ataliq Ghazi's martyrdom? Nothing can be said definitively about this, however. According to Times of London and the Russian Turkestan Gazette, he died after a short illness, while, according to a contemporary historian, Musa Sarami, Ataliq Ghazi was poisoned to death in Korla on May 30, 1877 by the former commander of Yarkand, Niaz Hakim Baig. The martyrdom of Ataliq Ghazi was actually the result of a conspiratorial agreement between the Manchu forces and Niaz Hakim Baig at Genghis. However, in a letter written to the Manchu authorities, Niaz Beg denied the allegation that he had a hand in the murder of Yaqub Beg Ataliq Ghazi and instead claimed that the commander of Kashgriya committed suicide, while some believe, which has no solid basis, that Yaqub Beg was martyred during the encounter with the Chinese forces. However, several contemporary Muslim historians and Western sources support Musa Sarami that Ataliq Ghazi was poisoned or killed by some other method. Ataliq Ghazi's suicide theory was proposed by the Manchu generals of the time, which was appreciated. On the other hand, the Korean historian Kim Hudong has given a happy explanation that he suffered from a heart attack. When was Ataliq Ghazi martyred? Nothing can cannot be said with certainty about this, but what can be said in the light of contemporary evidences that he was martyred sometime in the last week of May 1877. The dead bodies of Ataliq Ghazi and his son Baig were cremated in Kashgar. This move by the Chinese army enraged the people of Kashgar, and a rebellion broke out once again, but the Chinese forces crushed the resistance movement with the help of Hakim Khan before it could gain momentum. The Chinese arrested Ataliq Ghazi's four sons and two grandsons. A son was beheaded, while a grandson suffered severe torture. Apart from these people, Ataliq Ghazi's other four sons, grandsons, granddaughters, and four widows are believed to have either died in captivity in Lanzhou, the capital of Gansu province in northwest China, or they were also martyred by Chinese soldiers at some point in 1879. Ataliq Ghazi's surviving family members included his sons Yamakali, Kadi Kali, Mahdi Kali, and grandson Izanahan. All these men were minors, but they were put on trial, and it was determined that if they were found to have participated in the rebellion with their father, Ataliq Ghazi, they would suffer a painful death, and otherwise they would be acted impotent, will be made a slave. In the 1879 court verdict, the sons and grandsons of Ataliq Ghazi were declared innocent, and thus they were inducted into the servants of the royal palace. With the martyrdom of Ataliq Ghazi, the kingdom of Kashgriya also ended.